What if I told you that a mathematician could predict the collapse of civilization with the same precision that weather forecasters predict rain? What if this same mathematician could design a plan to cut humanity's dark age from 30,000 years to just 1,000? This isn't science fiction speculation. This is the foundation of Isaac Asimov's masterpiece, literally called Foundation, a book that didn't just predict our digital age, but gave us the blueprint for surviving it. In the next 15 minutes, you'll discover why Elon Musk calls this his favorite book, why it inspired the creation of Wikipedia, and how a story written in 1951 perfectly describes the world we're living in today. Isaac Asimov wasn't just a writer, he was a biochemistry professor who understood something most storytellers miss. The future isn't random, it follows patterns. When he wrote Foundation in 1951, the world was reeling from World War II. Empires were crumbling. The atomic age had begun. Everyone feared what came next. But Asimov looked at history and saw something different. He saw the Roman Empire's fall, the Dark Ages that followed, and realized, this has happened before, it will happen again. The question isn't if our civilization will collapse, it's when and what we do about it. So he created psychohistory, a fictional science that treats human society like physics treats particles. Individual people are unpredictable, just like individual gas molecules. But get enough of them together, their behavior becomes as predictable as pressure in a tank. Sound familiar? That's because we're living it. Netflix knows what you'll watch. Amazon knows what you'll buy. Google knows what you'll search. We call it big data. Asimov called it psychohistory.
The year is 12,020 AD. Humanity has spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Empire rules over 25 million inhabited worlds from its throne on Trantor, a planet that's one giant city. Enter Hari Seldon. He's not a warrior or politician. He's a mathematician, and his equations tell him something terrifying. The Empire is dying. Not in centuries, not in decades. The collapse has already begun. Seldon's psychohistory reveals the timeline. Within 500 years, the Galactic Empire will fall. What follows will be 30,000 years of barbarism, a dark age so complete that planets will forget they were ever connected to the stars. But here's where Asimov gets brilliant. Seldon doesn't try to prevent the collapse. He knows it's inevitable. Instead, he asks a different question. How do we make the fall shorter? His answer? Create two foundations at opposite ends of the galaxy. Fill them with humanity's greatest minds. Give them the tools to preserve knowledge and guide civilization's rebirth. It's not about stopping the apocalypse, it's about managing it. Think about that for a moment. How many of today's problems could be solved not by prevention but by preparation? Climate change, economic inequality, political polarization. What if the answer isn't stopping these crises, but learning to navigate them intelligently? Now here's where the story gets addictive. Seldon dies, but his plan lives on through something called the Seldon crises. Moments when the Foundation faces seemingly impossible challenges that force them to evolve. Crisis 1. The Kingdoms. 50 years after Seldon's death, the Foundation is surrounded by hostile kingdoms that have broken away from the dying empire. They have superior military technology. The Foundation has scientists. How do you win a war when you're outgunned? You don't fight it. The Foundation realizes something crucial. These kingdoms may have advanced weapons, but they've lost the knowledge to maintain them. So the Foundation becomes the galaxy's repair shop. They trade technological maintenance for peace, but they go further. They wrap their technology in religious mystique, creating a new religion where Foundation scientists are the priests, and their technology is divine miracle. Sound manipulative? Maybe. But it works. Within a generation, attacking the Foundation becomes literally unthinkable, like declaring war on God himself. Crisis 2. The Merchants. A century later, religion loses its power. The Foundation faces a new threat, the Corellian Republic, led by a brilliant warlord named Bel Rios. This time, military force won't work. Religious manipulation won't work. So what does the Foundation do? they go economic. Foundation merchants spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as traders. They make themselves indispensable. Their technology becomes so integrated into daily life that attacking the Foundation would mean economic suicide. It's like imagining a war against Amazon today. You might hate their business practices, but can you imagine modern life without them? Crisis 3. The Mule. Here's where Asimov breaks his own rules, and the story becomes even more compelling. Enter the Mule, a mutant with the power to manipulate emotions directly. He doesn't conquer through force or economics. He conquers through pure psychological control. And he's winning. For the first time, Selden's plan fails. The Mule represents something psychohistory can't predict, the truly exceptional individual who bends history to his will. But here's the twist that changes everything. Throughout the entire story, there's been a mystery. What happened to the second Foundation? Selden said he created two foundations at opposite ends of the galaxy. We know the first Foundation. They're our protagonists, the scientists and traders we've been following. But the second Foundation? They've been invisible. Until now. The second Foundation isn't hidden at the opposite end of space. They're hidden at the opposite end of knowledge. While the first Foundation mastered physical science, the second Foundation mastered psychohistory itself. They're not just following Selden's plan, they are the plan. Every crisis the first Foundation faced, the second Foundation was watching, calculating, subtly intervening when necessary. The Mule's defeat? That was them too. But here's what makes this revelation so powerful. The second Foundation represents something we desperately need today, the idea that someone, somewhere, is thinking long-term. In our world of quarterly earnings reports and election cycles, Asimov asks, what if there were people whose job was to think in centuries, not years? What if somewhere, brilliant minds were quietly working to ensure humanity's survival, even if we never knew their names? Every prediction Asimov made in 1951 is coming true. He predicted Wikipedia, a repository of all human knowledge maintained by volunteers who see it as their mission to preserve information for future generations. He predicted algorithmic manipulation, the idea that understanding mass psychology gives you ominous, terrifying power over society. He predicted the rise of tech companies that become so essential they're practically governments. Organizations that control information flow and economic systems across the globe, but, emphatic, most importantly, he predicted our current crisis of expertise. In Foundation's universe, knowledge becomes religion because people lose the ability to understand the technology they depend on. Rhetorical. Sound familiar? We live in a world where people carry supercomputers in their pockets but, disappointed, can't explain how they work. We use GPS but couldn't navigate by stars. We rely on algorithms we don't understand to make decisions about what we see, buy, and believe. Or, Asimov saw this coming 70 years ago. But here's what makes Foundation more than just clever prediction. It's an emphatic instruction manual. The book asks, pensive, when civilization becomes too complex to understand, how do we preserve what matters? How do we ensure that knowledge survives ignorance? How do we plan for problems that won't manifest for generations? The Foundation's answer? Resolute. You create institutions whose job is to think beyond the immediate crisis. You build systems that preserve knowledge even when individual people fail. You plan for the long game, even when everyone else is focused on short-term survival. Thoughtful. Here's what Isaac Asimov understood that most people miss. Collapse isn't the end of the story, it's the middle. Every civilization falls, every empire crumbles, every golden age ends. That's not pessimism, that's history. The question isn't whether our current system will survive unchanged, it won't. The question is what comes next. Foundation suggests that the answer depends on choices we make today. Do we prepare for decline intelligently, or do we pretend it won't happen? Do we preserve what's valuable, or do we let it burn with everything else? The first Foundation represents practical knowledge, the ability to solve immediate problems with technology and economics. The second foundation represents reverent wisdom, the ability to see patterns across time and guide humanity toward better outcomes. We need both.
Isaac Asimov gave us more than a great story. He gave us a mirror to see our own world clearly and a map for navigating what comes next. Foundation isn't just science fiction. It's a masterclass in thinking strategically about the future. If this 15-minute journey through galactic history has intrigued you, the full Foundation series awaits. 7 books that will change how you see politics, technology, and human nature itself. What other classic books deserve the 15-minute treatment? Drop your suggestions in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world, hit that subscribe button. Because understanding the past might just be the key to surviving the future.